Greetings, fellow infidels, and to those of you that celebrate it, happy Thanksgiving. Today I would like to talk about supernatural entities in general, not just God. Although I'm going to use Yahweh as an example. And basically what I'm going to do here is logically prove that Yahweh, at least, doesn't exist, can't exist, physically impossible to exist. So after this video, if any Christian apologist or believer in general would like to debate me on the existence of God, what they first have to do is discredit the premise I'm about to set forth. If you can successfully do that, I will give you the time of day. If you can't, then I'm sorry, I have more important things to worry about, namely the damage people like you cause this country and the world on a nearly daily basis. So, without further ado, Disproving Yahweh in just a few simple steps. Yahweh is defined as being all-knowing and all-powerful. Now, if you are all-knowing, this includes knowing the future. Now, a lot of atheists and theists alike are going to kind of see where I'm going with this at first, but hang in there with me. If you know the future ahead of time, you can't change your mind, because all of your own actions are predetermined. Everyone's actions are predetermined. In a universe that has omniscience, free will, and therefore omnipotence, cannot exist. Impossible. It doesn't even matter if the entity that is omniscient is the same as the one that is supposedly omnipotent. Because if there's an omniscient being, then there's at least one thing the omnipotent being can't do, and that is surprise the omniscient one. So, again, in a universe that has a being that is omniscient, it cannot have a being that is omnipotent. So, that's the first step of this premise. The second point here is, usually, the way to get around that is a theist will respond with, well, God is supernatural. How can you judge God by natural standards if he is supernatural? So, let's take a look at that. Supernatural means something that exists outside of the realm of nature. Well, nature is the universe. If it exists within the universe, it is natural. To say that something exists outside of, above, below, beside, whatever, if it is outside of our universe, it is the same thing as saying it doesn't exist in our universe. So, if you define God as something that is supernatural, you are essentially saying God doesn't exist. Now, here's where it gets really fun. A lot of times, a Christian specifically will try to backpedal and say that, God isn't necessarily omniscient or he isn't necessarily omnipotent. They'll try to say that the God they worship doesn't fall under those parameters. They say they still worship the God of the Bible, they're still Christians, but for some reason those restrictions are applied. And the best response to that is, if you are not worshiping the God that is defined as being omniscient and omnipotent, like the one in the Bible, you are not worshiping the God of the Bible. And therefore, you are not a Christian. If the God you believe in is not exactly as defined as it is in the Bible, then the God you believe in is not the one in the Bible. That's a very specific definition. So, really, there's no way around it. Yahweh doesn't exist. Plain and simple. And if Yahweh doesn't exist, it doesn't matter if Jesus existed at all, does it? Because he wasn't his son. He wasn't the Savior, Messiah, any title you want to give him, except maybe crazy old prophet. If he existed at all, that's all he was. So, to recap, omniscience and omnipotence equals a paradox. And that paradox can only be solved through the invocation of the supernatural. By definition, the supernatural does not exist. I don't care if you're talking about magic, angels, demons, fairies, psychics, tarot cards, tea leaves, Reiki, auras, crystals, or anything like that. If you have to say that it's supernatural, you may as well be saying it's imaginary. And I enjoy Harry Potter, but I can put the book down. Until next time, fellow infidels, keep thinking critically.